Hey everyone, Eric Watson here, freelance writer, player of games, writer of words, recorder of videos, and tabletop role-playing aficionado. Welcome to the Monday edition of Bye, weekly behind-the-scenes DM-only live stream, Crafting the Deep, in which I build, write, and prepare for our next session of Call from the Deep. If you're playing characters Gottwald, Mock Sabra, or Toro, this video is not meant for you and will be full of spoilers, but of course, you all lovely people are always welcome. We stream our D&D sessions live on YouTube every Friday. You can join our official Discord server with invite link in the description below if you'd like to support the channel. Please check out patreon.com/RogueWatson. For our campaign, we use Roll20.net for streaming. I use OBS Studio. I've had exactly 2 sips of coffee. The oldest had a softball game tonight, which we just sneaked in there when the thunderstorms were coming. It was gray, cloudy all day, and then it got darker and darker and darker. And as we were leaving, like raindrops were falling. It was just perfect timing. Unfortunately, it also means I ended up eating like way too many tacos and burritos at like 8:30, and now I'm drinking coffee, so I'm sure I will have some intestinal regrets later on. But for now, it's a great idea, and I feel fantastic. So we are back to talking about Call from the Deep, and hot off the presses, I just got, because we talked about this last week, about the point of entry for the Sahuagin Stronghold, right? Which I'm thinking may actually be level 3 instead of level 1. It just makes sense to me because level 1 is the main entrance and it's guarded. Like, who the hell is going in the main entrance unless you're doing some kind of a, I don't know, prisoner like fake system or something where you're like, you know, trying to convince them to let you out. I'm sure there's something I haven't thought of. They're like, we'll just crash our ship, the main entrance, whatever. There's probably ways they can get in there, but I'm thinking I need to at least plan for them, especially if I give them the information to enter into level 3, which we now have a lovely map of, and of course I haven't actually added it here because I have been busy. Whoops, I just added 2. We're going to do the other one eventually. We'll do. So in a weird way, we've already got level 1, and we're going to do level 3 before level 2, because at least I know they're not going to get to level 2 anytime soon. Let's see, how big is this one? Let's go to maps. 80 by 110. Holy crap. This is by the amazing Bear Gardner. I believe I have linked his Patreon in the description. So let's see. Width is 80. Oh my god, this thing is gigantic. What she said. 80 by 110? Is that what I said? Yeah. Okay. That's maps with very large dimensions. Warning. Warning, it's too big. Alright, let's see. See if it works. We do have pretty good tacos here in Texas, I will say that. Mexican food and Tex-Mex. Very, very good around here. And like, you know, beef. If you're into like steaks and burgers and stuff. Oh my god, look at the size of it. Look at the size of it. So big. Alright, I think we've got it lined up. Ah, oh, it's glorious. Behold its wonder and majesty. Shout out to Bear. This is looking awesome. You even got the dead giant eel right there. There's the cells. There's the little passageway. Look at the water effects. Oh, man. That is too dang cool. Please, please, please go to his Patreon and help support his maps. Look at the arena is done in like a different map color. Oh, this is amazing. I didn't realize how big of a map this is. Oh, I need to tell my oldest. I just saw she's playing The Sims. Get off The Sims. It's a freaking school night. Wow, that is too damn cool. There's the big barracks right there. You see what just the maps like does to my excitement and imagination versus the little, you know, black and white graph paper. Like, dang, that's cool. It's gonna be fun too. I think we can have a lot of fun with the arena. I think level 3 has a lot more going on than level 1 did. Level 1 is just completely empty. Honestly, if I had my druthers, I would almost recommend them skipping level 1 unless things get so bad that they have to retreat upstairs instead of downstairs, then I could see it. That would make level 1 a lot more interesting, is if it becomes like this chase sequence or something where they just have to escape, because the goal is for them is not going to be to take out this whole dungeon, and that's something that the dungeon itself makes very clear, that there are like, I don't know how many total Sahuagin in here, but it's more than any party should be able to actually handle. It's literally like 200 or something, where it actually mentions that. Malevolent dwellers of the deep does not say that. Those who rule, inhabitants. Sahuagin fortress is not to full capacity. Summarized in the Sahuagin roster table. Well, yeah, but that table didn't actually want a total tally. It just gives you the areas each one. All right, well, I'm not going to add everything up. But like one room alone has like 80 or 90 Sahuagin. That's kind of crazy. So there's occupants at start 49 Sahuagin in this room. Yeah, I think there's literally like, I don't know, between 100 and 200 or something in the total level, which is kind of crazy. No such thing as too many tacos. I get the whole lot of platter at Taco Bueno. Very delicious. As I start choking. I'm so bloated. Good lord. First, though, we have some events before we actually get to the Stronghold. I do love this map, which I have crafted a swamp encounter map. So the Thornhold Castle is... I kind of took the dwarves out and replaced it with the ancestral home of Miri Grey Castle, because it's literally a Grey Castle. And I know that she mentioned that her character was from nobles in Waterdeep and went on to like become a Lord of Waterdeep or something. This was her character, Heather's character from our Lost Mine of Phandelver and Prince of the Apocalypse campaign. And I what I like doing is mentioning the PCs without maybe directly using the PCs, because it is weird to like, as a DM, to literally use a past player character. I'm very curious if you all want to share some anecdotes about that, and how you utilized using a past player character. I've always heard stories about people like turning like, you know, characters into villains or something. I think that's really cool. But I found I'm more comfortable, at least, using them as cameos or just as name drops, to where the players know, okay, it's cool to hear my character has an influence and, you know, has been mentioned and is this, you know, important figure in the world, versus, oh, this character literally showed up and is going to help us in this mission or something, which is a little direct. I did that with Kalinar, but it was kind of a cutscene thing, and then I've done it with, you know, I've name dropped Gillian, I've name dropped Edmund, and now with Miri. So just that's kind of what I'm more looking to do, is just these fun name drops. So I don't actually have her plan on using her in the castle. Instead, I was going to use her mother, who was, for those of you that watched the Prince of the Apocalypse campaign, I think I replaced one of the captured diplomats or something that was in Prince of the... It's a very flimsy opening to get you involved in the prince's storyline, but it was the mom that was Miri's mom that was captured, and so I was going to have her be the one that they can talk to and get some information and updates about what happened, including the fact that they would at least know that the island has sunken down. So I can mention that update. And then I think I'm going to mention the fact that the lizard folk did show up at Thornhold, but there was a lot of disagreements about, even the lizard folk didn't want to stay there, and people were kind of antsy about having her there. Was a lot of like tension, and eventually they left to go into the swamp, and she hasn't seen them since, which would have been however many time ago, I think, weeks or something. So then the players, their job is to go out in the swamps and try to hunt down the lizard folk. And I don't necessarily want to spend too much time on this. I mean, you could turn the whole swamp thing into a thing, but we've already got the big Sahuagin stronghold, so I don't need it to be a big thing. So, and frankly, God, that one encounter, that Sahuagin fight took way longer than I think any of us expected it to. So I don't think we need to do a huge thing here, but I was going to let them roll like survival checks and really try to do a pretty simplistic, maybe group skill challenge, but I don't even really need a group skill check. I think if you're going to have just people searching, like following a trail, then doesn't it make sense to just have one leader person, most likely the ranger, roll your one survival check and everybody else follows that person, right? So that's, to me, that's not a group check. That's just one person does it for the team. But of course, the team could suffer the consequences if they don't get that check. So I was going to write something like DC 15, you need 3 successes to be able to find the lizard folk trail or any sign of them. And then for every failure you get, I was just going to look up like some simple hazards or things. Basically, I don't want to do combat encounters. That doesn't interest me, and I think it's just going to eat up too much time. So instead, I'm looking at things like green slime, hits you or something. You got to take acid damage, or quicksand, mud. Like, not literally quicksand, but like that scary mud shit that you just start like sinking down really fast. Quick mud. And maybe you could like lose hit dice or something, like some kind of ongoing penalty system, and all these things that involve checks or saves or attack rolls. You could do swarms of insects or something that would, I don't know, bite the play. It's something to where they have to suffer consequences every time they don't get a success. So I think that's all the ideas I had, and just to make it, and maybe only do like 1 or 2 if players aren't really into it, that's fine too, but just, I don't know, to make it a little bit more interesting, so we don't have to necessarily just completely hand wave and montage like, okay, yeah, you can find him wherever, unless Mac ends. I mean, he's a ranger, so he's probably just gonna say like, oh well, I've got this ability that means I don't do any of that. Like a stupid sharpshooter trait, which is just the bane of existence for a DM. Like, it does all the things too well. Deft Explorer, walking speed, both gain the canny benefit below. Skill proficiency, nature's intuition, just gives them more skills. So maybe because they changed rangers and have all the bullshit ones necessarily, so maybe I'm actually make him roll some survival checks, which I don't think he's ever really had to roll. His survival, wait, what? His survival is a +1? Wow, color me the surprised Pikachu face. How do you make a ranger and have your survival a +1? I guess he is a cop though. He's kind of an urban ranger, right? Investigation, insight, perception. He doesn't have nature. So maybe he actually is kind of uncomfortable in the wilderness. I didn't even think about that. That's kind of funny. I wonder if somebody else has better. Who else? Twirl usually has randomly good skills. Who else would have wisdom, though? Yeah, Twirl does have a +4. Why did I fucking know he would be the one to have the better survival? That's hilarious. Yeah, James, you call he's a city boy. Which I like that. I think and I think Urban Bounty Hunter, isn't that like one of the... Or Urban... It's something that was like Urban Hunter or some version of a backstory. It's like, yeah, your character was like... shit really well, but it's a city that and not like just the wilderness. I guess, yeah, so Twirl's just proficient in wisdom, in survival. He does the same +1 wisdom. So actually, Twirl would be a better guide in the wilderness, which is kind of funny. So there you go. Gottwald, I assume his wilderness is... Survival's a +3. What if Mac had the lowest wilderness survival? That's actually pretty funny. So he's also proficient in survival, because Gottwald would know. All right, Sabra, what's yours? You don't have survival, right? All right, she's also +1. That's funny. All right, well, Twirl and Gottwald could both serve as better guides in the wilderness. Mannix had it. I think so. I don't remember the name of it, but I think there's a certain background that's like, you're a city boy. You grew up on the main streets. But not necessarily like street urchin or something. Like it was like your career path or something. All right, well, in either case, it doesn't matter who can do it, but I think DC 15 is still appropriate. I think we still like the idea of the creature that I cannot pronounce. Catoblipus. I fucking hate this word in the English language. It does not roll off the tongue at all. But courtesy of the Monster Manual Expanded, we have calf versions, which are CR2, smaller baby versions, if you will, of the Catoblipus, which just literally is the same thing, but with worse stats. Fewer hit points, fewer AC. It still has the ability to stun you, and has the ability to death ray you. but all those damage are lower. Also, I took the advice, somebody, I forget who, sorry, mentioned that the death ray being just so nasty. I never liked those. Like if this reduced you to 0, you just straight up die. But so I dialed it back a bit and said if reduced to 0 hit points this way, the target accrues 1 failed death save. That feels a little more sporting, I think, while still being nasty. It already has the nasty effect of if you fail by 5 or more, you take max damage, which is nuts. That's already, like, horrifying. So all these guys can technically do it. So the idea here, cut O Bleppus. Cut Where's the soundboard for me just pronouncing this over and over and over? Catoblipus. That actually sounds better. I can do this. Catoblipus. Catoblipus? Catoblipus. Dun 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 dun. Catoblipus. Dun 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 dun. Catoblipus. Dun 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 dun. Y'all know that reference? Da 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 da. I'm actually reading the Jim Henson biography right now. It's pretty good. Dude was like already rich when he was like 25, which I didn't realize. Like he like drove a fucking Rolls Royce to his graduation. What a stud. So they're gonna track the lizard folk to a combat encounter because I think I like this idea. I don't think I'm gonna let the players do a surprise round, and I don't know how far away to put them on this map. And it's always awkward because, like, clearly in a normal context, you would be able to see the enemy, you know, from pretty far away. But in D&D terms, I don't think you want to give them, like, you don't want to start them like 200 feet away because the players could just decimate this without any kind of consequences. So I kind of have to shrink the battlefield a little bit. We know Savra's going to be not wanting to touch the water, so she's going to have some kind of spell going on, but it's all going to be murky, nasty. I do want to paint the fact that this is a nasty swamp area. The backstory here is the lizard folk. Their actual camp is nearby, but they're out hunting for food, and they found like maybe 1 or 2 of these calves, and they're trying to grab them and take them unawares, but then more calves. Oh shit, I just forgot it. Catoblipus. I just have to remember the fucking song. The manana. Yeah, that's correct, Nate. Mana. Dun 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 dun. Fucking classic. And what I'm going to do is hide the adult in the water so that, of course, by the time the player characters show up to assist the lizard folk, who are already going to be on their back foot because they're just more of these kept appearing, I guess, and taking them out, that's when the adult comes out. So the calves, I think none of them, or all of their death rays will be on recharge, but the adult will come up and just scare the pants off somebody because it will have its death ray ready to go. And of course, I can still roll the recharge here. Does 5e doesn't ever have a good system for tracking this, does it? For tracking individual, because I know that what combat was I messing around with where I had to like track it on the token itself because I realized I had multiple, something that like a breath weapon or something. This is a similar deal where they have a recharge of 5 to 6. So I have to like keep track of which individual creature actually has that ability available and which have to recharge it. There's nothing on like the Roll20 character sheet. I need like that little, like in player character sheets, they have the resource available section. I need that on an NPC sheet. This little part right here. Like Toril can mark Tentacle of the Deeps, usage, Second Wind, Pact of the Talisman, that kind of thing. I need to like mark if they have a recharge or not. I don't think there's anything. I just need like a little checkbox. How do we not have something like that? Just a little checkbox you can click and click off right next to Death Ray. You don't keep track, you just roll it every turn. Well, maybe I'm confused, but I thought you had to keep track of whether they had it available to use. So I guess what I'm keeping track of is, do you have it or do you have to re-roll for it? Am I overthinking it? I might be overthinking it. Because it's possible somebody would be able to fire their death ray because they've got it recharged, but then the next character doesn't have it. They have to roll but don't have it. I mean, you could assume, well, Eric, you just did it. You have to remember. But when you have multiples, each one has recharges separately, right? Or do you do it all as a group? They can use the power. Yeah. Yeah. I'm just having to trust myself on whether I remember, like, do they have, like, because it may come up, I don't know why it would, but it may come up where they end up using their tail instead of the death ray, or like something happens where they like have it and they don't have to recharge it, or something could occur, I guess. Yeah. But still, it'd be nice to know if they like have it available or if it's on cooldown, basically. Or you could play it where like, oh yeah, they use their death ray every single turn if they have it, which you could do that. I tend to mix things up a little bit. I don't usually play my monster unless a monster is specifically like a, a spellcasting villain, or but a lot of times we're fighting just like beasts or things. So I try to treat it like, I don't know, it's not necessarily going to be optimal all the time. Maybe I give my players too much credit by not having my monsters be as ultimately deadly as possible, but in this case, they will all have to start recharging their death rays. That's how I'm going to balance this fight. Also, there's lizard folk here that are going to be taking the brunt of this battle initially. We've got 2 dead ones already to showcase the fact that it's nasty. 3 regular lizard folk, and then 1 scale shield, because this scale shield stat block is actually from Ghost of Saltmarsh. And they've added a couple lizard folks. They have a shield block ability, I guess. So I was going to use that as kind of the character they can talk to, I guess. There's Garut and Vythe. I can just pick one of those as the one they can speak to after all said and done, but has more hit points, more armor, should be the one to survive a little bit better. And then the players will, I don't know how far away to start them from this particular fight, but I'll paint it by the fact that once they like come across it, hopefully I can pretend like, oh, it's really thick everywhere, and like you get through, even though the map doesn't really show trees everywhere, but I don't know, like turning a corner, it's I don't know, you pass by some particularly thick swamp bushes and like, oh, there they are in front of you. Try to do it to where you didn't really see them from far away, and there's sounds of the swamp kind of drown out the ability to like sneak up on them or anything. So right here, around here, would start everybody about 45 to 50 feet. You could definitely treat the swamp water as difficult terrain also, although I think most of them have swim speed. So I would probably say if you have a swim speed, then it doesn't really impede you. I'm trying to think, like penguins, a penguin has a swim speed, but a penguin still would not navigate a swamp very well. am I putting too much logic into this? I like Star players a little over their movement speed. Yeah, exactly what I was thinking. Let me a little bit past their movement speed from the enemies. That way they kind of have to dash or get up there or make some choices, do some range attacks. They don't use it as a carryover. Yeah, you use red sword. Yeah, exactly. Just see if if they've got it like banked, and you don't have to re-roll to recharge it. But yeah, I could keep track. I think it was some different icon I was using or something to keep track of whether they've got the ability charged up or not. So I think that's probably going to be a good spot. And actually, the closest enemy, 35. So maybe we'll back him up one more. Maybe like that. I think she's got zombies too, doesn't she? 2 zombies, is that right? One of them was Chandri. I don't remember what all of her zombie rules are in terms of hit points. I'm just going to give her 2 basic zombies. You basic zombies. There you go. Everybody's equidistant. I've heard you do that, Sylvan Fox. Make your players roll the recharge. That could be fun. How do you pick which player rolls the recharge, though? You just call somebody out? Oh boy, we need to straight up delete Chandri off there, don't we? That was funny. Everybody's like, oh, okay. I was like, well, yeah, she wasn't really important anymore in the story. But still, it was one of your allies. At least Mac put up a nice dramatic no, which I appreciated. You know, we forgot about completely, and your DM forgot about it as well, is Captain Callus. Still waiting in the Neverwinter port. Waiting to get paid. I could perhaps use that. Maybe Callus is wanting to get paid from them. The second half, I think they paid him some money to help with the Neverwinter assault, and then he was like, all right, come meet me here to pay the rest of it, and then they never did, which, to be fair, I also kind of forgot about that. I think I remembered it before we started the first post-Neverwinter quest arc, which was the Pirate Skyhold, but I definitely not remember that for this last session. Whoops, poor Captain Callus. Character is going to get looked at the way you can't blame it instead of yourself. Yeah. Yep. Sometimes I just don't even pay attention. I'm like, oops, you're the one that's going to get attacked. Oops, you're going to go down real quick because you're like a level 1 NPC and the players are like level 7 now. So that's going to be nasty. So this is not meant to be a really challenging. Of course, the Sahuagin fight wasn't meant to be a really long, challenging fight either. I was shocked by how long that fight went. I mean, gosh. I forgot what time we started it, but I was like, at one point I was like, oh my gosh, this is all we're going to do tonight. Like, this fight is taking so long and, like, just causing them so much consternation. And it was not meant to be a super huge, nasty battle, but, I mean, I guess it proves the fact that the Sahuagin are subtly very powerful with their multi-attack and their blood frenzy giving them advantage. Even though they don't usually roll a lot of damage when they hit, they just successfully hit quite a bit. And then sit. Don't have a fit. I'm going to stop now. After this battle, the lizard folk will take the party to their... I don't know how far or how long the party's going to have to travel. It's probably not far. They're probably like within a day's journey of Thornhold, which means I would probably let the party... I could even let them long rest in Thornhold before making their way out to the swamp, if they wanted to, because it was like halfway through the day by the time they made it there. Or they could do this and long rest in the swamp village, which should be decently protected, and then go back to Thornhold and then go back with their mission, I guess. I don't know. Maybe we'll see what the players are thinking. The only thing I would not want them to do is to long rest twice. I'm already giving them one, basically, because it just kind of makes sense. They're not really in an urgent situation. So they could either long rest when they get to Thornhold after having only had one encounter, essentially. Or they can go into the swamps, and then by then it'll probably be evening time after this encounter, and then they can choose to long rest in the village. But I don't really see them having to travel for days or anything. It just seems tedious. So I think they'll just go for like the better part of a day and travel for hours or something. And I think I could still be pretty far enough away from the swamp. But like the lizard folk wouldn't want to go that far from Thornhold either. They wouldn't want to go too far from their home. They're just trying to make the best of a bad situation. So they would have no reason to go too far away from, to like in the swampland. These are not swampy lizard folk. These are the island cave lizard folk, and they wanted to be in there for a reason, because they didn't have to fuck around with any of these bad things in the swamps. So, in terms of the lizard folk people, for that, I think we have to look at danger at Dunwater. I do like this picture. I don't know if we're going to get a chance to use it. I don't see them having this, these kind of facilities, unfortunately. But it's a fun picture. Lizard folk all like having a laugh while roasting chickens and pigs at like an actual bar. It's delightful. Let's see, names. Oh, that's all the information there. Okay, so that's not what I want. Lizard folk roster. Commoners, scale shields, shaman, hatchlings. This doesn't actually tell me names, does it? Giant lizard folk. Or giant lizards, giant poison snakes. Lizard folk render. Okay, Sariv is a lizard folk noble. I think he has his own token too. Yeah, like an old man. The Queen's leading advisor and by far the most intelligent lizard folk in the lair. The aged minister Sariv. That could be funny. I could do an old man voice. Extremely wise. Okay. And then Altha Kent, I believe, is the queen. I want to use her. Well, I don't think they're going to make it back to Neverwinter. Grant. By the way, hey, Grant. I kind of joked about that when like, oh, you guys got a base. Okay, now you're going to leave on the rest of the campaign, none of which really takes you back to Neverwinter. We've spent a lot more time in Neverwinter than I even expected us to. We may teleport back there before like the very finale. I don't know. We'll see. But more than likely they'll meet Callus out in the sea somewhere. In fact, there's a good bit where they could go to Mintarn into the islands. And there's like a classic, Mos Eisley type place of scum and villainy and pirates all hanging out there. And it even says that Callus is often there and that the players can get into like a bar brawl and stuff. Although we already had a bar brawl tavern fight in this campaign once. Kind of a vicious one, though. Not really necessarily a, punching people one. Although Gottwald did punch people. Queen Altha Kent does not, unfortunately, have a unique token. It's kind of a missed opportunity. Worldly for lizard folk. Expects those to show respect. Treat her people as their equals, rather than as primitive fools, be mocked or patronized. Her experience with humans. Tell her they can be useful allies, but she also knows they can be duplicitous. The Queen makes it clear how she feels about the character's behavior so far. She gives them a lot of credit for not killing any lizard folk. Hatchlings among the characters makes the Queen's close to outrage, makes no secret of it. Which is all if they end up going through the lair. But I'm not actually using the dungeon lair. I'm just using the lizard folk like tribe. One or more characters must display their good intentions for at least 3 hours. That's how long it takes to get people to trust you. You must display good intentions for at least 3 hours. At the end of that time, a character can then attempt a persuasion check against a DC that depends on the group or individual in question. Yay, gamifying role-playing is often very awkward. It's funny how I usually read about these kind of systems like, okay, yeah, and then we actually get to the game and we just end up role-playing, and I'm like, all right, do I like your role-play or do I not? They proceed cautiously and without violent intent. They like to be taken to audience with the Queen, Altha Kent. Depending how they have connected themselves at that point, the characters might be able to improve their reputation with the tribe using their diplomatic skills. Do these players have diplomatic skills? Actually, yeah. I think this party has made an ally of pretty much everybody they've met. A tavern tussle, thank you. A ballroom blitz. An alehouse assault. You guys are on fire. A brew house brouhaha. I don't think that's how you spell. I see what you did there. I see what you did there. The best possible outcome is for the characters to befriend the lizard folk and for Altha Kent to invite them to join the alliance. The characters can't accomplish this To act of contrition and persuasion might be able. So the problem is this situation is obviously a lot different for my campaign because the lizard folk are already in really bad shape. They don't really have any negotiating tools. If the players come and just start asking questions, be like, hey, the Sahuagin are so bad they even attack Neverwinter, so we want to go attack them. Lizard folk would be like, oh hell yeah, like it's not going to be any kind of like, I don't know. I mean, unless they're too prideful to ask for help. So we could have some fun with the role playing here, I guess. Hopefully between Ulthakent, Sariv, and I don't know, whatever lizard folk I want to use. Garuth or Vite, because one of them is in the final enemy. What's it called? The Council of War. Yeah, 2 lizard folk scale shields named Garuth and Vite. So one of them can be at the Getablopus. Do. I have to keep remembering. Scenario, and then they can act as the liaison, invite the players to the lizard folk tribe, and the queen would be. It does say she's pragmatic, though, right? She knows about the outside world, feigns ignorance, and attempt to get scared as a lie. She respects those who show her respect and treat her people as their equals. Humans can be useful allies, also let me duplicitous. Okay, and what about Sariv? First reaction to intruders will be one of mild surprise. Who they are, where they came from, who sent them. He knows they're not bastards. He has no range with humans. Amiable and willing to talk. Extremely wise. Appearance betrays his age. I don't really say about his playing too much. It just seems like those folk would already be on board with whatever they want to do, I guess. A pugilistic pub. You guys are really liking this. Speakeasy skirmish. Man, there are a lot of these. So many options. I do like ballroom blitz. That's pretty funny. I feel like that's the genesis of it all. Tavern tussle. They would be able to give the players they'll be able to tell a few more things. So I guess I need to get my story straight in terms of when the Sahuagin attacked. It was just an overwhelming show of force. Many lizard folk died. I could even have the queen not be there. Maybe that's the reason lizard folk were in such diaspora. Is the queen is possibly presumed dead or captured. In which case, I would have to remember to put the lizard folk queen in the Sahuagin Stronghold as, although, how do they keep captives underwater? There's got to be a way, right? Give them some kind of necklace of adaptations or something. I'll come up with something. But that might be like add it to their chart of rescue attempts, right? Is a Sahuagin zombie gonna be an issue? Oh, because Savra's got one. If anything, that should be pleasing to everybody, because the Sahuagin is right now enemy to everybody. They're enemy to the Grey Castle people. They're enemies to lizard folk. So I guess you're saying, would that make them turn hostile instantly because they see a Sahuagin? I would treat these lizard folk as intelligent enough to kind of realize, like, oh, you're a necromancer, or you've obviously got this zombie on a leash, and this zombie obviously looks like a Sahuagin. So if anything, I would probably turn that into their favor. The fact that, like, oh, you've literally got proof. It's like if you're walking around with like a Sahuagin head in a spike or something. Top of the temple's just flooded. Yeah, you could put them. You could keep them at the top. I have a whole problem with the first level being horrifyingly empty and with like nothing to do up there. But yeah, that's a lot of the. I think the Sahuagin do keep a lot of slaves, and they're literally using slave labor to help like finish that top level. But I don't see them putting the queen in that condition. I think they would be. Maybe we can do something creepy, like the queen has been killed and her, or she's kept in stasis or something, and maybe it's like her life essence that's keeping the island sunken or something crazy. I don't know. But I could even actually have the queen like not here and have it be that the poor tribe is leaderless right now and haven't quite anybody stepped up. Maybe there's queen loyalists who are like, no, she's still up. We can't have somebody else. We got to go back and get her. And other factions are like, we just need to like regroup and stay out here. It's the best thing for us. That might actually be the more interesting story. Kind of liking that. What do we think about the queen actually being a captive in the Sahuagin stronghold, and therefore the lizard folk are kind of split between like, oh, we need to rescue her and mount like a proper attack or avenger or something, and then the other faction is like, are you kidding me? Like, we lost so many Sahuagin, or we lost so many lizard folk. It's a suicide mission. We just need to, like, she's dead, and we need to pick a new leader and just live out our life here in the swamp. And that's kind of the situation the lizard folk is in by the time the party comes up. And then the party could obviously side with the like, we need to go after them faction, and we can go in there. We have the power, we have the technology, we can, and the lizard folk can't really reward them with anything. They have nothing. They can reward them with information, which is the handouts that we have here, the little crude drawings that basically show them like, hey, here's kind of what's to expect. The lizard folk will also give them that entrance, though. That's a huge one, right? I'd be like, all right, look, the island. Or maybe the lizard folk don't know the island is sunk. Maybe that's the piece of information they get from the Grey Castle people, because they're on the coast. They can see the island. But the lizard folk, maybe they haven't really been able to even go back anywhere near it. Well, I did say they made it to the castle first and then left, so maybe they heard rumor or heard word that their island was sinking. I just don't know how up to date, how much they would know about the current situation, how much time has passed. But they can still provide these handouts and be like, hey, or maybe I'll have to make the players have that decision and be like, all right, the third level had two entrances, two sort of, one main entrance to the back and one kind of smaller entrance that was more like a emergency fire exit or something, to where they can be like, this was not a well-trafficked area. Kind of an old guard post just up from one level to another, but I think maybe mention the fact that it like broke or something. I don't know. I really want to paint the fact that the players do have an entrance here. It's like 70 or 80 feet below the top entrance, and that's their best stealth approach. But if the pragmatic faction is successful, they'll fail persuasion checks, etc. It's a possibility. I guess it just means the party's on their own, really. They don't really need the lizard folk to go on their mission. The lizard folk are just there to provide more information for them and to help them provide some kind of distraction, because right now I have no idea. I'm providing the players with a problem, which is, how do you get into this very well defended, well patrolled, like enemy main headquarters layer that's also 2/3 underwater? And I don't necessarily know the answer to that. Safra becomes the queen. Clearly. So I don't know. The players, I'm hoping, will come up with something, and they can either work with the lizard folk and maybe the humans in the castle to get them inside, but their main goal should be, and either the humans and or the lizard folk can tell them this, is like, hey, get in there, take out the Sahuagin leadership. That's going to be a big part of it. And the party might know that one thing they should look to take out, although none of their allies will know this, is some kind of physical conduit that connects the mind flayers to the Sahuagin. So like in the Wreck of the Golden Crown, there was a shield of Farsight that literally had like an eye on this shield that could project, or was it that, or was it, yeah, I think it was that, because it was on the statue. I moved that, and that could project like the mind thoughts of the mind flayers or the Elder Brain Kraken, whatever. So I'm picturing there's got to be something like that here in this dungeon, and that would be the big thing, that if they can sever that connection, I don't know where I want to put that. Probably in level 2, because I think level 3 mostly has like the prisoners they need to save. And then level 2 has like all the bosses on it. And then maybe in like the priestess's temple or something, where I'm going to put that super chul. Super chul! Maybe that's where we can put that or maybe the chul itself is the connection, but that's what provides that kind of prowess and controlling aspect that the mind flayers have over the Sahuagin. But the party will have to kind of intuit that themselves, or maybe I can add that to their quest log. That might be the best thing to do, as a way of kind of prodding them, like, hey, you should also look for this. But I don't think none of the allies would necessarily know, because none of them have really picked up on what the main problem is, that the players do have that information, which they're like, yeah, it's fucking mind flayers, because of course it is. They're behind everything, and they're the reason that all these aquatic factions are causing devastation everywhere, and they're a big reason why the Sahuagin are suddenly like acting all competent and organized and like this grand, like, just fascist military stormtrooper force, rather than kind of a random nuisance that they usually are. That's how she becomes a main villain. Yep. And I think all that's going to be on level 2. So I think I like having the queen not here. Let's keep, because that's how you make the lizard folk divided. If the queen's there, then I don't think it just makes her a worse queen. But if she's not there, then that allows the power vacuum of why you've got this divided fact, just to add some kind of interesting like role-playing drama with the lizard folk. And it probably won't last too long with the players. They'll snap everybody up into shape and deal with it and swagger and everything. But party needs lizard folk as a distraction, though. Yes, given number of pros, I would think so. Yes, Nate. That is why I'm encouraging this as a path they can take. Yeah, I would think they would need these allies to help them get inside. How they're going to do that, I don't know. I'm going to already say that Thornhold doesn't have any usable ships, because the Sahuagin destroyed them all. And the lizard folk obviously don't have any means of getting near the water. But, so the players really have the only ship. So with that, and with the fact that they do have some allies here, that maybe someone make it happen. I don't know how close the final enemy dungeon is supposed to be to land. I keep getting confused about this every time I look at it. Let's see. Doesn't actually say anything there. Yes, I know that those levels are underwater. That is relevant. No, that is relevant. Controls and point. Yeah, so none of that talks about the actual physical location of the damn thing. All right, let's go to the very beginning. Brutal horde that over a year ago drilled lizard folk from the original home to regain that from lizard folk being out purchasing weapons. Plan to expel the Sahuagin to regain their home. Adventurers going to deliver them back to meet with the town council. And the aid of human salt marsh battle comes. Sahuagin threat freed and let's form the town council salt marsh once again. These heroes infiltrate the strongholds. Yeah, but where is it? Where is it exactly? produce a crude map depth of the location of the Sahuagin Stronghold. Occupies an island in the estuary of the Javan River, 50 miles west and south of Salt Marsh. A coastal headland covers one flank of the island, which is connected to the mainland by a stone causeway. I don't know what half these words mean. I feel like I need more nautical training. So is an estuary like where a river meets the ocean? I'm about to Google estuary. I think that's right. The tidal mouth of a large river where the tide meets the stream. Okay. Well, mine's different though. Mine's more out in the ocean. They might have made this a lot harder for my players. A coastal headland covers one flank of the island. Well, if it's connected to the mainland, then it's not a fucking island, you dolts. It's by a stone causeway. Right? Am I crazy? This does not look connected to the mainland. I'm looking at a picture right now that shows a giant, like, spire mountain with a cool, very terrifying bridge over a smaller spire island, none of which is connected to land. So I don't know how I'm making heads or tails of that. I'd like to share that image, if that's the right image. But I don't see how that can actually be the right. This must have been what the original one looked like, because I picture the entrance as being barely above the water, because the other entrances are, what did it say, 80 feet below the water? So this doesn't even look right to me. You guys can't see because my overlay is covering it, but like the water is like lower than this. This only goes like, there's another like third of the island left where there's water. I think what I was picturing, it was literally, yeah, it would make sense to be an island too far away from land. It consists of a series of natural passages and caves honeycombing the interior of the island. Should give players information about the former lizard folk in the surrounding area. 3-cave system. The main entrance is now a large cave that faces the seacoast. That's interesting. The main entrance faces the seacoast. So that means that big bottom barracks entrance would actually face back towards land? I always pictured it the other way around. Well, I guess it's ultimately whatever the hell I want it to be. What is the distance between the levels? Does it ever talk about that? Island not too far away from land, and there's a bridge involved. Yeah. I'm definitely picturing it like it's visible, right? It's visible clearly from the shore, which isn't too far. I mean, it's to where you look at it and you're like, I'm not swimming there, but I can see it. Oh, that's right. The lowest level is 80 feet in the water. The second level is not 80 feet. What is the height of each level, though? Does it ever talk about that? All rooms are 20 feet high. Except for 37, 41, and 42 are 30 feet high. Area 53 is 60 feet high. Area 60 is 45. Okay, so maybe there is a huge ass freaking... Good lord. So those are some long stairs is what you're telling me. Is that right? Area 53 is 60 feet high. Is that like the arena? 53 looks like it's on level 3. Guessing that's the... Yeah, it's the arena. Okay. Well, if the arena is 60 feet high, then that means that's the bare minimum distance between level 3 and 2. Right? And area 60 is 45 feet in the cave proper, which is the bottom one here. 30 feet high over the area at the top of the steps. Okay. But level 3 is still 80 feet below the water. That means level 2... I can't believe I have to figure all this out now. This should have been more obvious. Or I should have thought about this before. So that means level 2 has to be barely below water. Right? Because if level 3, if one of the entrances at level 3 is 80 feet below water, or 70, what is it? Fuck, I want to keep saying 80 if it's 70. I don't remember. Wherever it talks about the entrances. Yeah, the cave entrance, once more the Laserfolk access lowest level. The island caves have been submerged in 80 feet of water. The stone causeway that previously led from the shore to the cave entrance now leads to a new set of stone doors built by the Sahuagin. So there used to be a stone... Okay. A stone bridge. How does that make sense, though, if they sunk the damn island? Is that a plot hole? Because it was the Sahuagin sunk the island after they took over. So you're telling me they sunk it 80 feet? And the bridge is still connected? Where the Sahuagin built the Sahuagin would have built a bridge. Ugh. None of this makes sense to me. And yet I have to figure this out because it's all going to be relevant information. They're going to want as much information as possible, and that makes sense because they're on a fact-finding mission right now. So we got to figure out how. So I mean, that's a big deal. Is can they make it to the lair on land via a bridge that goes to Area 1? Or what I'm actually picturing more is maybe we say screw the bridge, and the lair that has been conquered by water creatures is now only accessible via it looks like a cave of an island floating on the water. I'm actually picturing level 1 as being just above the water level, which it is because as soon as they get the stairs, they see the water there. So level 1 is sitting on the water level. So it's like you come across an island and it's not very, well, it's still pretty big. I guess the level 1 is big in terms of this size of it, whatever that ends up being across. But this right here, this cave opening, I'm just going to treat like it's a opening sitting there on the water and guarded, rather than any kind of bridge nonsense. I think that's how I'm going to work it. And then if you want to infiltrate it in the other entrances, then you got to go below water. And then you're below water and go from there. So I think I'm going to actually ignore the whole bridge, coastal thing and force the players to have to get in the... So either way, they have to get in the water. I mean, they've got rowboats. They can all mostly swim. Like I just trust them to just figure it out, really. And if If they have a distraction, then that will allow them to get them unscathed. And if they don't have a distraction and they fuck up a lot and have to get in by themselves, that's when we probably have to start introducing another like Sahuagin patrol that they have to battle while like in the water or in their rowboat, you know, trying to get to this place. Maybe they'll do something like, I can give a couple rowboats on their ship, be like, all right, so Savra's zombies take one rowboat and like go this direction, and you know that might buy them some time or something. You know, come up with something clever that's fun, and I'm willing to work with them for that. But I definitely need to get all my facts straight so that I make sure to give them all the relevant information. I could see us. Let's see, what are we gonna do? The meeting with Mara, Grey Castle. We're gonna do the swamps, this Catablopus fight, and then the meeting with the lizard folk. So I could see us ending the session, sorry, with them like at the beginning or end of their infiltration plan. So we still might not actually make it to the dungeon itself, but hopefully we will be primed and ready to get inside the dungeon with whatever plan they have. And I'll try to have all that ready to go. We'll have more. Thankfully, we have more time to talk about that on Thursday, but that will do it. For now, they do have a glide. You're right, they can paraglide their way in. The only thing you can't do is go at it from the top, I think. There's just nothing you can do. That even talks about how you can climb around it, and there's nothing to it. You got to go in from the bottom. But that may provide a distraction. You're right, and hopefully they'll come up with those plans. All right, that will do it for this Monday edition of Crafting the Deep. If you enjoy the content, please do check out patreon.com/Rogue Watson. Shouts to Platinum patrons, Joe, Will, Thomas, Stan, Brennan, Xenocider, Eclectic, Roleplay, Roll, Christopher, Corey, Big Nut, John F., John L., Eric, Tyler, Nathan, Capristola, Counselor, Andrew, Dell, The Reldron, Captain Woody 79, Stephanie, Andy, Patrick, Jason, Ismail, Amit, Lumpy Spuds, Sharni, David, and William. Gold patrons, RPG Papercrafts, Pretty Boy, and Yuma, The Lizard Lion, Sam, Jerome, Nathan, Fast Like a Tortoise, Scott, Rufus, Carolyn, Jerry, Glenn, Marcus, and Mark. Thank you all very much for your support. I will see you another Crafting the Deep on Thursday. And no fools today, notice. I don't fuck around with it with fools. Dumb hard.